Peace, this is your big sis, Callie Divine, back again for another powerful episode of the Sacred Sisterhood Show. We are here to gather the extraordinary women who inspire us to embrace our divine essence. And I am so hyped today to introduce our guest. She is a beacon of light and wisdom in the realm of healing and spiritual transformation. She's an exceptional woman who possesses a deep understanding of the intricate nuances of healing trauma and reconnecting with our true divine selves. Through her extraordinary work as a life coach, a mentor, and a medium, she has dedicated herself to guiding individuals on their profound journey of self-discovery and restoration. Drawing upon her own experiences and tirelessly honing her craft, Ronnie has illuminated the transformative power of agape. Agape is the unconditional love that flows from the source. Through the process of shadow work and nurturing an unbreakable connection with the divine, she has unraveled the profound truth that each and every one of us is chosen to experience life as our most ascended selves. So, in this episode, we have the privilege of diving deep into Ronnie's radiant insights and wisdom. Her mission is not merely to enlighten, but to empower us to embrace our sacred calling and fully embody our divine potential. So go grab your tea and make yourself comfortable and open your hearts to the transformative vibes that Crown Sage Auroric is bringing to our sacred space. Please join me in extending a warm welcome to Ronnie, the Crown Sage Auroric. Peace, sis. How are you? I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It is so nice to have this conversation with you today. We're talking about divine connections and honing into our spiritual abilities. And I've been following you for quite some time on TikTok, and I've been admiring your abilities with your clairvoyance and channeling and working with tarot, divination, and all that. And I was thinking, I'm like, I really, really, really want to have a conversation with you because um something that you possess, like I just purely like the any energy that you radiate through TikTok. It's just pure, it's transparent. You seem like you're operating from a space of unconditional love. So I'm like, I really want to have a conversation. I know that we have an innate ability, a lot of us have an innate ability to, channel in psychic energies and stuff like that. And I want to talk about how we can hone in our abilities. So, side note, I noticed that on TikTok, everybody and their mother claims to read tarot cards and claims to be like psychic mediums and stuff like that. Like every other day, I'm getting an inbox saying, I have to pay for a reading or something like that. So I wanted to talk to you about your journey. Tell us a little bit about how you actually came to the awareness that you had these special abilities to channel different energies.
Well, for me, honestly, it started out with me when I was a young child. I was always someone who was able to like write books, write stories and such like that. I was always able to kind of tap into different vibrations and didn't know it at a younger age. So at a younger age, I was that kid with the imaginary friend. I was that kid that may have had like those dreams that the next day the situation happened, and I will be so profoundly like afraid of these things because the world around me kind of taught me that whatever I was seeing, I was just kind of like a little bit just out there with it. So I subdued that at a very young age. And I found myself later on in life experiencing a lot of like deaths and things going on in my life. And in me doing or in me experiencing some of those deaths, some of those situations where a lot of things have imploded in my life, I was forced at that time to really take a look in within myself. And at that time, I was still like, I grew up in a Christian household, I should say. So at that particular time, like I still was praying to the Lord over certain situations that were happening in my life because I felt like my life was falling apart. I felt like I had nothing left. I was at a place in my life where I had became like depressed. And I felt like nothing in my life was really working for me. So I started praying, and as I started praying, um, I just I had nothing left. So I came to this place within my life where I had nothing. I just surrendered. And I had gave my energy over to the Lord. And I'm like, I don't know where else to go here. Everything that I've tried has not worked. I felt like I was being pushed into a corner in life. At that place moving forward, I just had gotten so tired of just everything. And I went to sleep because I had no more energy. And I woke up the next day and I was still kind of in my subconscious energy, not fully awakened and stuff like that. And I began to hear messages come through to me through spirit. And originally, when I heard these messages, I thought I was a little schizophrenic. So,
Right. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
thought I was schizophrenic. So, I received the messages coming through, and initially it was about the mark of the beast. And I'm like, I definitely thought I was off the wall then. So I went in and I told my husband about this, and he completely thought I was off the wall. So I kept a lot of that to myself, but the voices never stopped.
Mm-hmm.
So as I began to stop and listen to what I was actually hearing, I started to notice in those voices that I was beginning to hear things that were actually happening around me. I started questioning the Lord about this more and more. And as I started talking to the Lord more and more about what I was hearing, I started realizing I was honing in on what his voice sounded like. And
Mm-hmm.
like I said before, with me being new to this, I still was in lack of belief over whether I was hearing this because I was also used to having anxiety as well. So when I was able to hear these voices, I was only able to hear them at a time in my life where I was actually in a quiet space. And when I was
Mm.
in the midst of a lot of things, I was kind of like not able to hear those voices at all. So I started learning from that because I'm having situations happen around me where I'm running into people that are talking about meditation. I'm getting on YouTube and I'm hearing people talk about spiritual awakenings around the time. At first, I was a little bit sketchy about that type of energy because, like I said, I'm coming from a religious household. But the more and more I started noticing that these energies was coming towards me, I felt like the Lord was kind of giving me this energy of saying it's okay. And I started just listening at first to what was being said when it came down to the spiritual community and when it came down to what they were saying because they were actually explaining out what I was actually hearing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of giving me that clarity at a time when nobody else around me understood what I was going through. Um, and in me starting to gain that clarity, I started trusting a little bit more because spirit kind of started out with not just words, but I would start receiving synchronicity. Like I would receive a message that says, "Don't let this person in my house," and then like maybe 5 seconds later, I hear a knock, and I'm like,
Ah, shoot.
yes. So I started getting messages just before certain things would happen. And I feel like Spirit was allowing me to see those things so I could begin to develop trust in what they were saying. It took me going through a lot of traumas and a lot of deaths in my life to start really being open to hearing what Spirit was saying because the world around me seemed kind of chaotic. So that was my one place of peace.
It seems like a lot of us kind of come into the awareness of our gifts when we are going through a traumatic experience.
Yeah.
And just listening to your story, I laughed in the beginning because I was literally taking a shower today, and I was in the shower. I was like, when I was about 4 years old, and I was thinking, I remember back when I was four. I remember sitting out on my patio or in my backyard, and I was singing. And it was like I was singing with an imaginary friend, right? It was like me and him were just like, or me and this entity were just like vibing, and I just felt so comforted. And I was just thinking about this moment, and I felt comfortable with this energy that I couldn't explain. And I was like talking to, and I was just by myself and alone, and just, and then when I reached high school, I started to have these weird experiences where, um, like I would hear people's conversations, like people that would get close to me, and it's like I was either hearing their conversations or I was hearing their thoughts. And then when I was with my friends, I'm like, Did you guys hear that? Do you guys hearing this? And I'm like the only one. So I firmly believe that I may have some like clear audient abilities, but I've never learned how to tap in and kind of hone in that type of uh skill or gift. And sometimes I get like ringing in my ears and stuff like that. So I know like I'm getting a download now. It's like second nature. I know it, but I don't know what it is. I can't really pick it up or channel it like as well as you can. So um we definitely have a similar journey, and I can't really say that I went through as traumatic of an experience as you, that helps you kind of step into your gifts, but I definitely went through a time that strengthened my spiritual connection. Now tell me, so for a beginner, someone that is just getting into their spiritual journey and they want to connect with their ancestors, they want to connect with their spirit guides, um, how would you recommend that they start? Like, do you grab a pack of oracle cards, tarot cards? Do you just,
I
how would
would
you recommend?
I wouldn't recommend going for Oracle and Tarot initially until you feel a little bit comfortable with the message you may receive. Now, the reason being is there's a lot of tarot readers that you know of that can read, but they read more from the book or more of the textbook definition of it. But in order for you to really be in tune with your gifts, you also have to have a spiritual connection with the other side. And in order for you to be able to tap into energies and be able to control what energy is coming towards you, you have to have a relationship with the energy that you're channeling. So it's one of those situations there of if someone's coming into spirituality for the first time, the first thing I recommend with that person is to begin journaling. And the reason I say that is because when you begin to go through different experiences, because when you open up to spirituality, you are in the energy of manifesting at that time. There are different experiences that are going to happen with you that you cannot explain at that time. And that's kind of like spirit showing off a little bit. But they
Mm-hmm.
do that because they're allowing for you to be able to open your eyes. And you want to be able to document these things as you go along because spirit will give you little minor messages and such that initially in the beginning you may misunderstand because your level of understanding or capacity to understand isn't there yet. But as you go back to go look at what you've written, you'll realize that you have written a complete trajectory. And a lot of the time, those messages that you're receiving at that particular time are actually coming from your soul self. As you begin to really delve into it a little bit more, I do recommend from there begin learning how to meditate, giving yourself that space and time. And that's not along the lines of like you have to sit still and just listen. It's one of those energies of taking like 5 minutes out of the day and just having like no television, no phone, nobody like knocking on your door, and just allowing yourself to just not think about the world going on around you. So, in order to be able to balance out what you're going through, it's an energy of all the time, or not all the time, but giving yourself that space and time every day to calm down because now your body is kind of like acclimated to a new vibration as a whole.
That makes sense. And I was actually just looking for one of my journals. It's funny that you even said that because I started when I was going through what I was going through, like a bad relationship I had. I was going through very bad relationship, and when that ended, I started journaling. And then I was like writing down certain things that made me feel like I was kind of crazy because I'm like, what is this that is just coming out of my mind? What is this? It doesn't make sense right now. But here's one of my old journals that I pulled up a couple days ago. And look at this. Did we not just have this conversation last night? I wrote this. Yep, and I wrote this so multiple times in this book, balance, and I told you that is a big challenge that I deal with in life, just trying to find a balance and maintain it. But journaling was a great way for me to just kind of learn myself. We'll be right back after a quick message. Hey sis, I don't know if you're anything like me where you just struggle to find peace and balance in your life. Well, I created something very special, very empowering to me, and I wanted to share it with you. I created this Goddess Life Planner. And as a woman on a journey of self discovery, this planner right here has become my literal best friend. Now, let me tell you, it's not just an ordinary planner, it's also a journal with plenty of tools inside to help you find balance, focus on manifesting your dreams, cultivate self love, and design a life that you truly desire. I created this to be a transformative tool that helps you navigate the unpredictability of everyday life while keeping your peace of mind. That's important. As a firm believer in the power of affirmations, I included an affirmation page in the very beginning that you can look at. Write down all your daily affirmations to remind yourself of your worth, your strength, and your limitless potential. With that, I'm able to conquer obstacles, any obstacles that come my way. I also included a vision board, and that's where you can really get creative. Imagine having a dedicated space to just plan out your dreams, your career goals, your personal aspirations. The vision board creates a visual masterpiece that inspires you every single day. And that's right there is literally just the tip of the iceberg. I've also included many other tools within this book. It's an undated daily planner, so you no longer have to feel constrained by dates and calendars and trying to store everything in your head. It's all about setting your own pace and allowing the universe to guide you. Whether you're jotting down your to-do list, scheduling self-care routines, or recording moments of gratitude in a journal, this planner creates a sacred space for you to align with your divine purpose. Now, literally, I'm not one to push products, but using this planner has truly transformed my life. It's like having a personal life coach guiding me towards my higher self. It's an indispensable tool that helps me focus on what truly matters, nurture my passions, and create a life that's peaceful and productive. So, if you are ready to find some more balance and embrace your inner goddess, give this planner a try. I personally designed over 15 different covers for you to choose from, and they're currently available for purchase on Amazon. The link is in the description. And to show my gratitude for your support and watching this episode, I am discounting all of my planners and journals to the lowest price that they've ever been. Trust me, sis, it's not just a planner. It's a valuable tool to help you fill your life with purpose, help you focus on manifesting your dreams. And remember, the power lies within you. Let this planner be your custom guide on your unique journey of self-discovery. Journaling was a great way for me to just kind of learn myself, and kind of delve deeper into spirituality. So that's definitely a great place to start. I definitely agree. Journaling is a great place. Now,
Just that. Can I throw something
yeah, yeah,
in?
yep, yep.
As well as when it comes down to the journaling, um, as you delve more into spirituality, you are gonna have energies that kind of come and speak to you before you're ready to understand what they're talking about. And you
Hmm.
being able to journal, that kind of gives you, before you're actually comfortable with yourself, it gives you a basis on understanding where you begin or where you end and other energies begin. It's like that's your sense of self. That's something you can always come back to and know that it's you. Just to throw that
Mm,
out there. So you
okay.
don't get lost. Yeah.
Right. Now, speaking of different energies coming to you, um, so you have your ancestors, you have like your higher self, as people say, your spirit guides and archangels that may come to you. Can you kind of explain different entities that can assist us in different areas of our lives and how we can connect better with some of them?
Yes, I can. Let's start off with angels. For me, when I started out with my spiritual team, I started out with Archangel Michael. And I can admit that with Archangel Michael, I didn't really know who he was initially. But it was a name that was being thrown around in the spiritual community. So with that in mind, I went ahead and I prayed about it first to find out exactly how I should begin seeking these energies out. And in me doing so, I felt led to Archangel Michael because I began to see his name everywhere. I began to see it like if I go to turn on the television, someone's name is Michael. If
Mm-hmm.
I, meet somebody at the door, their name is Michael. Going into
Okay.
work, my coworker is Michael. And that's a lot of the time how certain entities come towards you to begin working with you. They'll show interest in you. Now, Archangel Michael is one of the first energies that usually approaches people. Now, a lot of people aren't receptive to archangels and such. People usually like to work with their own spiritual teams. That's where they feel comfortable. But Archangel Michael, a lot of the time, is one of the first angels that will approach you because he's an energy of protection. So when he comes to you sometimes in an energy of being like a big brother when you're in an energy of isolation from the world. And he's like that energy that will come to you to allow you to know that what you're doing is okay and where you are is okay. And if you need anything, he's allowing you to know that it's okay to pursue what you need to. It's okay to take breaks. It's okay. Like he gives you that energy of just settle down.
Mm-hmm.
Where you are is perfect. It's 333. That's his number, by the way.
What?
Yes, it's
Wow.
333 on the time.
The
But yes,
confirmation is real.
yes. But yes, Archangel Michael is one of the first angels that will come to you. A lot of the angels they do come to you, but it's always an energy of when they come to you, it's the energy of you being receptive because you'll start to begin hearing messages from them everywhere. And it's kind of in the beginning, it may be on a lower note where you're barely able to hear it and you may question it against your ego or against your mind and thinking it's maybe your racing thoughts that's speaking to you. But as you begin to see it everywhere and stuff like that, and you start taking that time to yourself and that voice begins to get louder, it becomes harder to ignore in that time. And it kind of forces you to take a look at what's really there. And in doing so, it allows for you to be able to see, like he eases you into the spiritual world by allowing you to know that where you're going is fine. He kind of gently walks with you along the way. And that's kind of how a lot of the angels come towards you at different aspects of your life. They have different meanings and different methods for helping you get through certain cycles in your life. Um, when it comes down to like, I'm not going to say all of the archangels, but like Archangel like Raphael, when you get into a place where you're beginning to look at shadow work, say, Archangel Raphael is very specially qualified in dealing with matters of the heart. So when it
Mm-hmm.
comes down to him, when you're going through that shadow work or you're dealing with traumas or you're dealing with now I'm beginning to look at my inner child healing work as you get into shadow work. Archangel Raphael begins to appear to you as well. And he doesn't appear a lot of the time in the physical form. It's more along the lines of you'll start seeing a lot of green or you'll begin to start seeing his name everywhere as well, and you'll start to hear his name a lot. And that's usually
Mm.
how they let you know that they're around if they make it impossible to ignore them in the daily life that they're in.
Okay.
Yes. And it's more of along the energy of when they approach you, it's about learning how to surrender and accept. In your beginning of your journey, your energy is at that time just learning how to surrender and learning how to accept that energy in. That's what all of the what do you want to call it? The lessons are about in the beginning of your spiritual journey is learning, surrendering and accepting, surrendering and accepting.
That makes
And you'll do
sense.
that each time a spiritual entity comes towards you because each entity has something for you that teaches you a new lesson.
Mm-hmm.
So the more receptive you are, the more energies come towards you. And as you get more comfortable with receiving energy from those people or those energies on the other side, um, you'll begin to learn the voice or you'll begin to learn the key markers that each person has. And as you pick up on a new voice, it's kind of like an energy of how you would meet somebody in person. You can kind of do like a little bit of an interview of who you're talking to on the other side. And in doing that interview and talking to them on the other side, you'll know whether you want to work with this energy or not. As long as you have energies like, say, Archangel Michael, if you're praying to the Lord and such, you will always have protection delving into those energies. They're not going to allow for you to get into your spiritual awakening and have you tapping into negative energies. It's one of those energies of in the beginning, they're going to tap you in with energies that want to help you because they know that that's a volatile time in your life. So with that in mind, it's more along the lines of wherever your path is leading you, it's who on the spiritual guide side is going to be led towards you. So if your
Mm-hmm.
path in life is to say do motivational speaking, you're going to have a lot of guides come in that help you with healing from past situations so you're able to
Mm-hmm.
take on those things.
Yep.
And then you're also going to have guides that come in that allow for you to be able to see things from new perspectives and learn how to see things from a higher perspective. That way you're not speaking from your ego. So each of these different entities, they all have purposes, and that's why you receive different ones. That's why every person has different sets of guides for their purpose alone. So if you're just speaking to spiritual guides, that doesn't mean that you're not in touch with the archangels and such. It just means that the spiritual guides that you have are helping you with a very specific portion of your journey. But as
Okay.
you begin to expand, other entities will be able to reach out to you as well. And as you grow more comfortable reaching out, because it's kind of like you're going to have to put your feelers out there. As you begin to feel a lot more comfortable with reaching out or being able to receive energy from other entities, and you feel safe because you know yourself now, because you've been journaling, you know yourself now. Even if we don't feel we do, whenever you reach out to other energies, it's more along the lines of knowing that you can say no if you don't want this. But
Mm-hmm.
there's also information that you can receive from certain energies as well. And you knowing yourself and you having the ability to say no to certain energies, you have the capability of demanding respect because this is your vessel. And you don't have to share or take any information that you don't want. That's where your free will comes from. So, and you developing that respect with the spiritual realm, when energies come towards you, you don't have to fear them. But you'll also gain energies that come towards you because you have a level of respect for your vessel. So, just
Does
depends. But
does that also apply to like deities? Does it work the same way? Do they come to you or do you primarily seek them out?
primarily with them, it just depends on the deity. Um, right now, in the place that I'm in, I have deities come to me. And I've had energies come towards me from celebrities that passed over all the way to, I've even had Hades approach me. You
Mm,
know, people are afraid of it, but I can get into it though. People are afraid of it, but people are afraid of it because of the messages and the answers that they have received surrounding him. But as you begin to heal your own energy, you begin to understand that Hades is actually the word karma. It's
mm,
not about it's not about the energy itself. I mean, it's not about the person behind it. It's the energy that they carry. You
mm-hmm,
know, and a lot of people are afraid of that dark side, but that dark side is within all of us.
mm-hmm,
So that when that fear comes up, that's a call to address what you're actually feeling in that time. And entities, like I said, when they come towards you, a lot of the time they're coming towards you because there's something that's within you that you may not be seeing that they're trying to bring up without of you. So it's a lot of the time of like when you know yourself, when you're ready and they come towards you, you can address it accordingly. It's
mm-hmm.
kind of like it's an energy of beginning to develop confidence. And confidence takes practice, but it's a level of developing confidence. So when entities come towards you, I get entities come towards me. Um, I feel a lot more comfortable in accepting whatever energy it is. Now, I also with myself when I am talking to entities or when I'm speaking to spirit as a whole, I ask for higher vibrational beings and
Mm-hmm.
allow certain vibrations to come. And as you raise in vibration, only certain entities can reach you because those other entities will be blocked. So it's just a level of developing that relationship with spirit that will allow for certain energies to come towards you. Now, I can say that I have reached out to certain entities as well in the past. And what I've learned through reaching out through entities in the past, or reaching out to entities in the past, is that it's better to allow them to come towards you because a lot of the time, if you're reaching out to them, they're usually more reserved or they reject you at the time that you're reaching out to them. And a lot of the time, that is because they're saying you're not ready for what they have for you.
That
That's
makes
why
sense.
it's better to let them come to you and be in a receptive energy. Yeah,
Mm-hmm. That
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah.
Um, Now with me, about 10 years ago, I feel like the energy of Cali came towards me. We kind of briefly talked about that. And I had no idea who this deity was. I don't even think I knew what deities were back then in the first place. But this energy came to me, and so I was forced to like do some research. I'm like, who is this Kali? It was, she's a deity from the Indian pantheon, pretty much. She's like a dark mother, a nurturer, and she's very empowering. And at the time, I was just in this situation where I just felt stuck. And I guess she came out to me because I was supposed to see something within myself to help get me unstuck, right? But
Yeah.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready at the time. I rejected the energy, but it stuck with me, or it kept on resurfacing over the years till finally I was like, all right, let's see what this is about. And then when I started working with that energy a little bit more, that's when I started to discover my voice. That's when I started to feel more empowered, to just speak my truth, right? Because it was a lot that I was holding in and keeping into myself. But then when I started working with that energy, it's like she's very nurturing, but she's also a tough love type of person. She's like, you need to do this. Like, you need to do this because it's for your own good. So you better get it done. So that's kind of my history with working with Callie, and I never really worked with any other deities other than that. I did have a dream one time where Sekhmet kind of came and gave me a gift. She gave me a chalice in my dream, and it was such a vivid dream. I would never forget. She was wearing a red dress, and she came and she gave me this chalice, and I still to this day don't know what that chalice meant, but I won't forget the dream. And I know she came. This was like 5 or 6 years ago, so maybe that was a time where she was trying to empower me. She's like a warrior goddess, right?
Yeah.
She's like a warrior. So maybe that was a time where she was saying you need to step up and fight for your own yourself, right? And stop letting people walk over you. Because I was going through some, I was going through, just life. And I never advocated for myself. I didn't speak up for myself. So I think that was a time where, she was trying to reach out so that I could find some empowerment.
That's actually really interesting. Can I tell you something there?
Uh-huh.
Sekhmet only reaches out to certain people. Okay, she is very, very specific in who she reaches out to, and the only people she reaches out to is energy of people that share a very strong royal bloodline. She only
Mm-hmm.
messes with the 144,000.
Word. That
Okay,
sounds
so she's not.
what?
She's very picky. She's very picky, and the reason she is this picky, I'm getting chills. The
What?
reason
I'm hot right
picky
now.
is because she has this very strong agenda. Okay. And her agenda is about being able to wake people up to the true power of the royal beginnings. And a lot of the time, like with her, when you get Sekhmet coming through, Sekhmet is an involved energy for one. Okay. And she is, like you said, the warrior goddess. But she's also the battle goddess as well when it comes down to the fact of she's actually in that battle mode when she becomes Sekhmet. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so by her coming to you in conjunction with Kali coming towards you, both of those energies are trying to help you wake up to that inner goddess within yourself and have you expand on the fact that you're actually a very, very high royally, don't say that, a very royally high entity out here. And they're saying that to some extent that you may be sleeping on how much power you have within yourself. And when they start to come to you in that context, they're allowing you to let you know that, hey, in certain situations, you actually have a lot more power than you think you do. But we need you to be able to see that because your name should be just alongside ours here. You have Sekhmet, you have Isis. Cleopatra comes through as well to some extent. um all of those energies, they're saying that you fit into that vibration with them in regards to the level of energy that you carry within yourself, and they need you to be able to see that, especially if you are dealing with situations that make you feel smaller. They're like, no, we can't
Mm-hmm.
let you keep that kind of energy because, like, no, you're a whole goddess out here trying to remember who you are.
Yep, yep.
Yep, yep.
And nothing that you're saying is new to me. It's all confirmation, really. I get those messages all the time, and to the point where I'm just like, I'm just hearing. It's not for me. I'm just hearing. Just I'm just getting these messages, but I never associate that they're actually messages for me. But now that you confirm it, it makes a lot of sense. I keep a Sekhmet picture on my altar, and I also have Kali as well, and I have Aset. So I'm really heavily, heavily attached to the Kemetic pantheon. So that makes a lot of sense. I actually had a similar experience with someone else where they told me to close my eyes and go back to. They tried to. It was weird. It was like a meditation. They told me to go back to a time, and we both literally had the same experience. We were back in this, what seems like Kemet, right? And I was in a sisterhood. I was in a sisterhood, and I was wearing all white. We were like in a circle. It was very, very prestigious type of high ranking type of thing. And he was reminding me, he's like, that was one of your past lives, that you were that person back then. So now I'm looking at it today, I'm like, I'm trying to create a sisterhood out here now. So like I'm still living this mission from way back when. I'm trying to bring it into this modern day reality, but I don't feel like I have the power to do it. So everything, it all makes sense. If Sekhmet is coming to me saying that, you do have the power to do this, and then that's just what I have to do, right? But thank you for that confirmation. Definitely something that I've heard quite a few times over the years. I just start to ignore it after a while because just going through the same thing and not seeing any changes is kind of frustrating. My next question though is, what are some effective techniques that you have used or that anyone can use to work with our ancestors through divination? Now, you did say don't go straight to the oracle cards, don't go straight to the tarot deck. And I think that I did that. And I just did not even, I had no idea what tarot was. I had no idea how to read the cards, but I was trying to get messages through tarot. The oracle cards helped me a little bit because anytime I came and I asked a question and I needed some clarity, I always received that type of clarity. But what would you recommend for someone else other than journaling? What type of techniques work to help you connect or to help us connect to our ancestors or establish a stronger connection with them?
You know what? When it comes down to the ancestors, they're very, very heavy on respect. And one thing with the ancestry is, if you want to better connect with them, they always want you to start with self care and beginning to take care of yourself and taking care of your children around you. They want you to,
Yep.
a lot of the time, begin working on what in your own life is not, working for you. So they're going to call for you to be able to take care of yourself. That means, taking spiritual baths and such, taking that time to cleanse yourself of your energy every day or cleansing your vessel. They're going to also, bring you to a place in your life where they may be asking you to kind of, change your dieting and such. Now, you may not be hearing that from them, but you may be receiving messages before you realize that's your ancestry. That's telling you to begin improving on your food intake and such, which you're doing. They may be asking you to detox as well. When it comes down to detoxing, a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're wanting to get messages through to you and they're preparing
Mm-hmm.
you beforehand so you're able to hear or see what they're telling you. But they'll start off with beginning to clear your own vessel out first. And then when it comes down to them, um, it's all about self respect first. But what I've found in my practices is altars are really, really good for them because for me, originally, I didn't have an understanding of where my bloodline came from when it came down to my ancestry. And when I received different messages as I got a little bit more into connecting with like the spiritual realm, as I started receiving messages about ancestors, I started getting energies from all over the place. So I was confused on where to go with it. So what I did was I set up an altar that was just dedicated to belongings that I knew came from my bloodline as a whole. So, like, I have pictures of family members that's passed. Um, I've had like like an old notebook from my mother, and things like that. I put a tarot deck up there. Now, obviously, that's not usually the first go to for a lot of people, but I have a specific deck that I only read with them with. And that's the only messages that I pull from that deck is from them. Like nobody else energy wise touches that deck. But I started putting things up there that remind me of my family on that altar. And as I did so, I started receiving correspondence in my waking life from my ancestral line that were
Mm-hmm.
confirming that they received whatever I put up there. Like my daughter, she's starting to get into this now too. I have two altars in my house. So I have one in my room and I also have one in my living room. And whenever we have dinner, she likes to be able to put things on the table in correspondence to them. And a lot of the time now, when she does that, she just puts the food out there, kind of like gratitude energy for them. And I'll receive messages back from them saying thank you. Or if I'm getting ready to cook a dinner and it's really, really good, I know it's good because I'm watching the ingredients I'm putting into it. I'll hear my ancestors. They're like, leave a plate of that for us over here. We want some of that, you know. And when I put the plate there, on the altar and such like that, sometimes I'll actually receive some form of a blessing. It doesn't always happen, but sometimes I receive some form of a blessing, whether it's money, whether it's clarity on a situation that I've been confused on, whether it's a family member coming through just to tell me that they love me, like an actual live family member. But I'll get confirmation in my waking world to say that they received it. And as I began to develop that give and take relationship with them, it strengthened our bond over time. So it really took at first beginning out with cleansing my energy and cleansing out my body on a regular basis. But then I started pushing for that relationship with my ancestors by giving them things, by putting it on a table for them directly. And as I did that, they responded by giving me things in return. So it's kind of like a barter system. Yeah.
So let me ask you then, because I know that people often do food offerings. I personally have like money for my ancestors I put on the altar. But how does that work with the food? I never really understood it. Like you make some food and you put it on the altar and then you keep it there for a day or two and then they receive it.
It's more about the gesture more than anything. It's about the
Okay.
gesture. Um, it's this energy that you put out into the universe when you're sending that gesture out to your family that hey, I'm including you or I'm respecting you by leaving a plate out for you as well.
Okay.
So with that in mind, I do it at my own discretion because like I'm not trying to catch bugs and such.
Right.
So I'm like, let's be
Exactly.
realistic. Like y'all not gonna really eat it physically. So, but I'll put a plate out for them, and it'll be what we have. You know, it's like it may not be much this day. It may just be toast and sour cream, or not sour cream, cream
Cream
cheese.
cheese.
You know,
Uh-huh.
but it'll be just that and like a cup of water. And that's what I'm eating too. And when I eat my dinner, I'll sit with that food and I'll be like, I'll have a conversation to the other side while I'm eating this food as if we're having dinner together. And then
Oh,
once
okay.
that food begins to get cold, I just remove the plate and throw it out. And I
Okay.
leave it at that. And more than anything, they just appreciate the fact that you sat with them for that time.
So it's more of like symbolism. So the food represents the symbol of you actually connecting with them from the other side, like they're actually there in person.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Yep, that makes
They
more
just don't
sense.
want to be forgotten. They don't want to be forgotten.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep, that makes more sense. Do you have any personal experiences that have demonstrated the power of working with your spirit guides or archangels? I'm sure you have 1,000.
Um, where do I start off? I'm like I've had situations come up with let me get one. I'm gonna get into how I got into tarot. That'll be one.
Okay.
So initially, like I said before, like I had began with going on my spiritual journey before I delved into tarot. And I delved into tarot before I even knew how to read it as well. So I had began in the beginning, just like I would cheat and watch things on YouTube and stuff. And I
Uh-huh.
still was in my religious state. So I was like, I shouldn't be watching this, but I kind of want to know what's going on. But I wasn't really watching tarot videos about people in specific. I started out with like watching I watched this guy. His name is Ray Gooseman, and
Okay.
he does tarot on YouTube. He's a celebrity tarot reader, but he does tarot readings on life events as well. And he did this tarot reading on like Lake Lanier, and I'm like, I was so thrown by it because it's like that's not something I've ever heard of anybody doing is reading about a place. And it started to stir up my interest, but at the same time, I'm like, I can't touch tarot cards because, boom, I'm in a Christian community at the time. Um, so as that desire within me began to grow a little bit more, I started looking at tarot cards on Amazon,
Yep.
and I'm looking at them, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't be looking at this, so I'm erasing it out of my search bar and stuff. And then I started having a situation where, well, I'm trying to remember how it came along. It's a situation where I believe, no, I went to sleep one night. Before I went to sleep, I asked Spirit, I said, the Lord, I really, really enjoy watching what I'm seeing people do with these tarot cards. So can you send me a message in response? I asked the Lord for it. I said, can you send me a message in response to do you want me looking at tarot? And I went to sleep on that note, and I was actually listening to the Bible. And while I was half asleep when I woke up the next morning, the Bible was on, I believe, Second Corinthians. And I wish I had it around me now. But what it says in that verse that it was on is that the Lord bestows certain gifts upon you, but it's up to you to remember who gave them to you.
Mm.
And I was like, okay. Okay. So I'm like, okay. I still wanted confirmation on it, but I got the message. I'm like, all right.
Uh-huh.
It caught me at a time where my ego wasn't really in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I heard the message and I had thought about it for that whole day. And I went back on Amazon and I said, you know what? I'm just going to purchase this deck. And if the Lord doesn't want me reading this deck, then I won't read it, but I'm going to have this deck.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought the deck and it came in the mail and I looked at it and then I put it back in the box and I put it away because I didn't want to look at it. I'm not supposed to read this deck. And I kept getting pulled. I kept feeling the overwhelming compulsion energy to just look at the deck. So I went ahead and I began to look at the deck and I just pulled cards from it. And I realized when I pulled the cards from it that I had gotten a story. And I was still reading the book at the time, but I was able to get the gist of the story that I was receiving. And then about 3 days later, that story actually transpired in my life.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
So I got confirmation through
Yep.
what happened in my life following me reading it. So as I began to read a little bit more and more and began to learn it, I realized that that was spirit beginning to show me before I was able to fully channel. They were beginning to show me in different aspects of my life who was in my energy at that time that weren't supposed to be there. They were predicting to me certain situations. Like they predicted to me a betrayal happening. That's
Mm.
what initially that situation was. Um, they predicted that betrayal happened, and the betrayal happened 3 days later. And then I started pulling cards on how to handle it. And each thing that I did after following those cards kept me out of the line of fire.
Wow.
So, in me doing so, I was like, okay, you know what? I know moving forward that I can begin to trust this energy because I was only channeling from God. I was only channeling from God at that time because I said I was afraid to touch anything else. I didn't want any energy coming through those
Yeah,
cards.
exactly.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
I was only channeling from God at the time, but He was showing me through those cards the power that He has. So He has the power to come through anything, but that was a profound way of Him showing me that, hey, He's here. This was the correspondence that we're having. And that's where my development of tarot came from, but it also taught me how to begin trusting in spirit a little bit more because I'm seeing it happen in the physical.
hmm
Yeah.
Now that brings up a different question for me. So I think a lot of us that have came from a religious background, I came from a Baptist background. I was raised a Baptist Christian for most of my life. And when I got into spirituality, I wanted to reject it because I was like, this ain't the Christian thing to do. This is scary. I don't want no evil spirits haunting me or coming into my house, right? So, um, what would you say to people that are spiritual, but I mean, are religious, but want to balance that spiritual side, right? It's not really anything to be afraid of per se because it's all energies, and we do have the power to control what we allow into our space, right?
Mhm. I feel like when it comes down to someone coming from a religious background, when it comes to looking at spirituality or expanding on the knowledge that you have, is remembering that fear comes from the devil. And anything that you're receiving in regards to messages, a lot of the time, when you're starting to step into this journey, some of these things will scare you. That is true. But a lot of the things that do scare you is because it's awakening you up to a new part of yourself. So with that in mind, it's always important to remember that you still have yourself no matter what. You still have that relationship with God. And if you stay in an energy of praying to the Lord Himself and developing that relationship to the Lord Himself, as you begin to step out into your spiritual journey and you're beginning to see new things, you can always ask for confirmation from the Lord Himself. And that's what really is going to help you with being able to see past religion as a whole. I also grew up in religion as well. I'm actually a pastor.
Oh, oh
Yeah.
wow.
So I'm like, go figure, right? But one thing that I've learned is when I was in religion, I can tell you a little bit about this. When I was in religion, I was afraid of the spiritual realm as a whole. I didn't want to go to hell. So because I didn't want to go to hell, I was trying my hardest to be able to understand what was in the Bible, to be able to understand what they're preaching to me in church. But I realized in doing so that it just wasn't making sense to me. As hard as I tried to follow behind it, it wasn't fully making sense. And I lived in an energy of fear about making choices in my life because I didn't know exactly what choices to make because it wasn't clear. So in doing so, I said, you know what? I have no choice but to start reaching out to the Lord because it's not making sense. Everybody now knows that the Bible has been rewritten so many times that it's kind of like you kind of have to question it a little. So with that in mind, when you start reaching out to the Lord, that's kind of what He's asking you to do anyway. And that's why there's like when it comes down to the Bible, not everything is there. That's on purpose. Because He's asking you to seek Him out. And when you seek Him out, it is gonna take you on a journey of maybe stepping out of your comfort zone, let's just say. But in you developing that relationship where you begin to trust Him, you know that if you trust Him, no matter what, you're not going to fall or fail. You're not going to go to hell if you're following Him. So if you're developing that relationship with Him, no matter what you're doing in your spiritual world in regards to whether you're in religion or whether you're not in religion, if you have that relationship with the Lord, that's always going to bring you back to your center. And that's what is easy, or that's what is the most important thing to remember is no matter what, you still have to maintain that relationship with the Lord and ultimately yourself. Yeah.
Speaking of that, can a person somehow have negative energies attached to them that unknowingly? Can they invite negative energies in unknowingly?
Yes.
And yeah.
Yes, they can. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off.
And then no, the second part and is if so, you just answered. How do you work on clearing those energies out of our space and from attaching onto us?
Well, it just depends on the kind of energy that's attached to you. If it's an energy of a person, let's just say, a lot of the time spirit will have you work on any attachments regarding this person. So whether it's like let's just say an ex. If it's a situation with say an ex, they're gonna have you work through your emotions on how you feel about this person first. So while you're working through your emotions about how you feel about this person, including resentments and such, that person's going to be in your energy. Now the universe will try to hold this person back from your energy as you begin working through those emotions and such. But they will strongly urge in that time frame to take a lot of baths, always wash your body, always begin to take those times to meditate where your mind is just clear. Journal about that too. I'm channeling now. But I'm getting the energy of like it's about developing that connection to yourself. So when it comes down to these entities coming in and such like that, it's like as you begin to work on how you feel about certain entities about those past people, it's about more along the lines of working through the emotions and such for how you feel about this person. Because as you begin to work through the emotions about this person, you begin to realize that a lot of the time the attachment that this person has to you is actually something that's going on in your own subconscious surrounding a wound from your own past and why you this as a whole.
So could it be an emotional attachment maybe like that we just have not released and that's what keeps the attachment?
That's what it is. It's usually when
Mm-hmm.
you have an attachment that comes in that way, they're highlighting or they're mirroring back to you something within yourself that is still being held on to.
Mm.
Once you are able to release those energies, those entities go as well because you completed the cycle surrounding it. So as long as you're in a certain cycle, those energies are able to gravitate towards you until you remove yourself from it.
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Now, I wish we could have this conversation all day, believe me, I do. And I'm sure we can think of some other interesting things to talk about, but I don't want to take up too much time. Can you tell the audience where we can find you and what type of services you provide?
Well, first off, I am the Crown Sage Auroric, and on TikTok is probably the best place to start out with me. That's the Crown Sage Auroric, Auroric. Okay. TikTok is one of the best places. I also have an Instagram with the same name. And then I'm working on getting up some other social media surrounding that too. I do have a YouTube as well with the same name, Crown Sage Auroric. Um, but as far as the services I'm offering currently, I'm offering life coaching and mentoring. I'm opening up to having a little bit more, but right now I want to be able to help people with being able to ascend to their highest self. That's where I feel I'm called to. Yeah.
Are you still doing any readings on the side or just?
I do readings as well. I do readings. All of that's included. So if you're getting a life coaching session and we're called to pull tarot cards, then that's what we'll end up doing. But a lot of it is me talking to spirit for you. Like I'm that channel for you to be
Oh, okay.
that part of yourself that's needed to be heard. So.
Nice. That's dope. And we can find all of your links on TikTok. So if you
All of
wanted
my
to
links
book a
are in
session.
TikTok. Yep, they're
All
all on
right.
TikTok in the bio. Yep.
All right, cool. Thank you for this conversation. I had such an amazing time talking to you. You definitely enlightened me on a couple different things. And I can't wait to go back and listen to this recording because there's some things in here that you dropped some jewels, some straight knowledge on us. So I appreciate your time. Thank you for the conversation.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Peace, goddess. So, are you ready to harness your inner power and dive deep into a sacred feminine initiation of self love and soul care rituals? If so, then I want to personally invite you to join our African Goddess Initiation. You know, we're all about uplifting and empowering ourselves as women. And what better way to do that than by joining a community of sisters We're all seeking the same spiritual growth. I don't know about you, but sometimes life can throw us off balance and make it hard to stay connected to our femininity and inner power. But Goddess Training Camp is specifically designed to help us tap into our feminine energy and unleash our full potential. And here's the best part. As an audience member of the Sacred Sisterhood show, you will get an exclusive 30% discount on enrollment in the Goddess Training Camp. You heard that right, girl. Just use the promo code provided during the show when you sign up, and you'll be one step closer to mastering your divine feminine gifts. So what are you waiting for, sis? Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Join us in this powerful goddess initiation. Let's rise up together as the beautiful, powerful goddesses we are meant to be. This initiation will allow you to connect with yourself and with fellow sisters in a space of empowerment and vulnerability. We'll uncover the goddess within each and every one of us and tap into our intuitive power. I understand the importance of creating a sisterhood, having a safe place to explore spirituality and self-love. That's why I created this community, to provide just that. Oh, and one more thing, sis. I want to make sure you're aware that classes for this initiation will begin as soon as we reach the enrollment of 50 members. So don't hesitate to take advantage of this discount and secure your spot in the group now. Trust me, you don't want to miss out on the first phase of this transformative journey. And don't worry, we'll make sure to keep you updated on the enrollment progress so you'll be the first to know when classes launch. Can't wait to have you as a part of this powerful community. I'll talk to you soon. Peace. Peace again. So, as a token of my gratitude for you tuning into today's episode to the very end, I have something very special for you. I'm giving away a few of my planners to my incredible listeners, and here's how you can get one. I want you to simply just hit the like on this episode, tag 3 people that might find value from this powerful conversation, and then let me know what your favorite highlight was in the comments below. Let me know the best part that really touched your heart and resonated with you the most. Once you've done that, you'll be entered for a chance to win one of these planners. I'll pick out about 5 of our listeners and contact you very soon. This planner has been a game changer for me and for those who have used it so far, and I'm sure that it will help you organize your life and tap into your inner radiance and embrace your true power as the fierce goddess that you are. I want to thank you again for joining me on this transformative journey. Your support means the world to me. Stay tuned because I'll be back with more thought-provoking episodes very soon. Until then, remember to take care of yourself. Keep spreading your love, keep spreading your light and positivity, and stay blessed. Peace.